When I first started drawing back in 2013, almost 10 years ago, mental, I had no idea what materials were good, what materials weren't, and the only reason I knew what pencils to buy was because I would literally stalk other artists until I found out the brands that they used. So, with that in mind, thought this video might be quite helpful for anyone wanting to start out, and I'm here to go over all of the materials I use, what I started using at the beginning, what I've introduced along the way. I'm excited. This collection has been growing for years. Let's get into it. The first pack of colour pencils that I ever bought were Prismacolor Premier. I saved up all of my money and bought the 130 pack. They are incredible because they have such a soft core in the middle, and I would say that they're very similar to the next brand I'm about to talk about, which is the Caran Luminance, but they are much cheaper. All in all, I think that the value of the Prismacolor is so good, and if you are on a budget, I'd recommend the Prismacolor over the Luminance personally. A massive advantage to the Prismacolors is their colour range. You can get 150 colours, which is just brilliant news, just makes life easier. The grey range, my favourite of any colour pencils that I own. The cool greys, warm greys, French greys, they're separated out really nicely, and there's just so many. It's great. Another advantage is that the pigment is really bright. They're so vibrant. And then the other one is just how blendable they are. They were the perfect colour pencil for me to start with as a beginner because I love the look of drawings when you don't see paper gaps through the paper. So the soft core really allowed you to build up quite a thick waxy layer and just blend all the colours together. I've always loved that look, and I know for some people that's really not what they like. So if you don't like a thick waxy layer, then these probably aren't for you. Now going on to the disadvantages. Number one is that the wood quality of the pencils are probably the worst out of all of the brands I'm going to mention. They do snap quite a lot, and I think that that's also down to their soft core in the middle. One time I had the idea of putting a snapped pencil in the microwave. Hear me out. When a pencil breaks, it's most likely broken all the way through the wood. I wasn't just trying to like cement the end back on or anything before you think I'm really crazy. I thought if I put the pencil in the microwave, it would melt in the middle, and then I just leave it out and it would harden and it would be perfectly fine. What I didn't take into account is the silver lettering on the edge, and as soon as I pressed go on the microwave, it starts sparking everywhere. I almost blew up my pencil, so don't recommend doing that. That's a tangent and a half. It should be fine as long as you're careful when you're sharpening them, and you're not going to be wanting to use Prismacolors for really fine details if possible. There's no reason for the leads to ever be like super sharp. Another disadvantage is that some of the pencils aren't light fast. So if that's important to you, you can check online. There's some colour charts and stuff where you can see the light fast rating of each individual pencil. It's usually the more vibrant ones that aren't as light fast, but all of the neutral tones like the greys and everything I mentioned are spot on. Another disadvantage is that you can get a little bit of a waxy build-up at times with the Prismacolors once you've got all the paper gaps filled, and there are ways of sort of avoiding it. I think that's just down to how soft they are, and obviously the fact that they're not as expensive as a Luminance, which don't really tend to do that as much. So the next pencil I'm going to go on to is the Caran Luminance. I'm very aware that I'm probably pronouncing all of these pencil brands wrong, and I should know better, seeing as this is my job However, there's more important matters at hand, and that is providing you the info. So please don't come at me. Next, Caran Luminance. These are great. I do love these, and overall I think I do prefer them over the Prismacolor a little bit, but I like using them together. I could never choose. It's like trying to choose your favourite child. Don't have children, don't know what that's like, but I can imagine it's a very similar problem to have. Something to bear in mind with these is that the width of them are thicker than the Prismacolors. So if you've got a thin pencil sharpener, you'll need to buy a new one. These are the most expensive pencils that I have. I think now they cost something like £3.50 each individually to buy, which is crazy. I used to think £1 a pencil was mental. Art supplies are in demand and there's nothing we can do about it. So these cores are very similar to the Prismacolor, slightly harder and very, very nice to blend. I can also sometimes use these for details as well, which is always good, but I tend to stick to these for the base layers. Now, an advantage of these is the wood quality is amazing. They hardly ever snap. The pencils themselves are actually much thicker. Another positive is you can get so many layers with them. They just give the creamiest look on the paper. No streaks. It's beautiful. I love them. Oh, and another positive with the Luminance is that they are all light fast as well. So that's always ideal. Now, the disadvantages of the Luminance. Number one, the colour range goes up to 76, which is okay, but to put it into perspective, that's half what Prismacolor do. So the variety isn't quite there, but obviously when you're mixing packs, makes up for it. Another disadvantage is the price. I think that they are overpriced, in all honesty. Getting the odd colour of these is probably your best bet if you are on a budget. There's no need to buy the whole pack. But there are a few staple colours that I swear by, which I will list on screen if you did want to purchase some of these, and they are my go-tos. I use them all the time. Another disadvantage is the fact that the lettering wears off on the outside of the wood. Although I think they have updated that more recently. They used to have silver lettering, which literally fell off in like a month. They all seem to have stood the test of time. Going on to the final brand of pencils that I use, they are the Faber Castell Polychromos, and I only use these for details. The lead in the middle is completely different to the other two brands I've mentioned. These are oil-based, so the lead is much, much harder. It's easier to get a sharp point, and you can go in, and I love layering this over the top of my solid base layer. Advantages of this: fantastic for details. The wood quality is amazing. They hardly ever snap unless you drop them on the floor. Don't do that. Now, some disadvantages of these is that the colour range isn't the best. It's better than the Luminance. I think it goes up to 120. But there's just some neutral tones that I think are really, really missing. I tend to only use the darker pencils at the Polychromos. I never really use the lighter colours. So for me, I just buy the darker ones individually now, and they do me very, very well. Moving on to paper. Honestly, the day I tried this, my life changed. I've never gone back after trying this paper. I will never try another paper again. I love it. So this is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 300 series. I know that they also have a 500 series, which I think is slightly thicker. Not sure how I would get outlines with that, because I do actually trace my outlines. So I would love to try that paper, but for now, this is my child. This is my baby. My technique has developed so much since using this paper, and it's literally perfect for me because I hate paper gaps in my drawings. The fact that this is so... I'm holding it upside down, right. The fact that this is so smooth just aids that so well. Show you a demonstration of how thick she is. Here's one I cut earlier. Oh my god, I've got some ASMR for you now. Yeah, and I have different packs of this. I buy it big like this for my bigger commissions, and I did just used to buy this size and then even bigger sheets as well, and then trim them down on that guillotine behind me. But I sort of found that I was wasting more paper than I was using. Like, there were so many offcuts all of the time. So what I decided to do was buy some smaller packs as well, which are right here. I got a 9 by 12, so I can cut that down to like 8 by 10, which is my smallest commission size. And okay, I've lost the other one. Who knows where that's gone? Now, before I get too deep into this, I have to talk about this thing, which I get asked about all the time. Just the fact that a knife is even used within drawing is mental, and if you'd have told me that 5 years ago, I would have laughed. As crazy as it is, it has completely transformed my skill. The details I can now achieve with this tool in combination with the smooth paper is mind-blowing, and it takes a while to get used to, and I think making sure that you understand the fundamentals of drawing first is definitely more important than learning to use this. This is something that is probably easy to understand and learn the benefits of once you've got those core fundamentals in your brain. I use the craft knife. The blades are removable and you can replace them. I've never needed to replace them because I've worn them out, because I'm not actually using the knife for its actual purpose of cutting paper. I'm just using the point and the different points in the end to scrape away very, very lightly the top layers of pigment from the coloured pencils. So unless I've dropped it and shattered the end, which has happened, I haven't needed to replace the blade. Just be wary of that. They also do come with a lid, so that's not a poor design, that's just my clumsiness coming out in full swing. Another reason why I love the craft knife is because how thin it is. You can hold it like a pencil, you have more control. Moving on, sharpeners. This is another section in the pencil world that blows my mind. There's so many options to choose from. I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing at this point, but it's working, and there is absolutely no chance that I could ever be sat with one of those twisty ones where you twist the end and stick the pencil in, and I just don't have the patience. So firstly, I've got this, and I don't actually know if they sell this anymore. I've tried to find it on Amazon. It's very difficult to find, but there's other ones that are similar, and it's got like the spiral blades in the middle, which are brilliant. You just put it in. Mine's full, so it's struggling a little bit. No matter how much you spend on a sharpener, the blades will get blunt eventually, especially if you're using them every day. So in my case, I found it's much better to have lots of cheaper sharpeners that are always sharp. So I just have loads of the metal ones. You can change the blades of all of them. They've got the 2 different holes, so I can have like a shorter angle at the end or a really long sharp point. Whilst we're on the subject of sharpening, another thing I do to get a really, really sharp point is use a blending stump cleaner, otherwise known as sandpaper. I get a pencil and I will sharpen it first, and then I'll go over the top, scribble it a few times, keeping it still. Get a nice, oh, I feel like a makeup guru right now. You know, they're like, Okay, we'll do it against my face because that seems to work. See that point? Well, I turn it upside down and then I use that to get little fine details and layers on the top of the wax base really nicely. And I find at that point is much sharper than any pencil sharpener I've ever used. So recommend that. You can always use a nail file, something with a rough edge. Think outside the box, whatever you want. Desperately trying to work out everything I use, and I wrote it down in here so that I can remember, because I've already run out of things to say and I don't even know what I use anymore apparently. So here we go. I knew I was forgetting something. Erasers. How could I forget? Firstly, pencil erasers. I love to use normal, standard pencil erasers, and I've cut all mine up. I think that's so that I just have more of them around rather than like one big one, because it's just not necessary. And then I like cutting them to get them in like more of a point. I just got this double set from like Hobbycraft. I always go for them. I really like them. Great for lightening outlines, great for rubbing out sections if you want to redo it. If you did see my cat portrait recently where I rubbed out the kitten, that was done with these. So definitely recommend. And other things I use is the Tombow mono eraser. Now that is fantastic, and unfortunately I've literally just run out of my refills, so I need to order some more. The tip is tiny. It's like a mechanical pencil. You can push it and it's great for just getting tiny little bits of pigment up off the paper, or you know, erasing small little outlines as well. Other erasers that I really love are these Arteza pencil erasers. Again, need to do a pencil restock, so I will definitely sort this out. But this is usually the length of a normal pencil, and it's just got the rubber on the inside. It's got a brush on the end, so ooh, fluff. I often use the end of this just to brush away pencil dust on the paper. For some reason, this eraser does wonders if you ever get an accidental smudge on the outside of the paper. You know, in the bit where you definitely don't want a smudge. If you get a smudge in the area you're about to draw over the top of, not ideal, but it's okay, manageable, because you're about to cover it with a load of pigment. But when it goes right on the outside of the edge of the lovely crisp white paper, it could be a bit of a heart-dropping moment. This has erased some mental smudges and nobody would know. Obviously it's small, so it does take a little while. It's great for those little tiny ones that you can't get rid of. It doesn't go away like straight away. I'm literally rubbing at it until it gets hot, but it works. Still not working. Can you see? Can we see? Stop focusing on my eyes. Ah! And if you're wondering what light fast rating is, it's... No, I'm not even going there. This video is going to be too long. Google it. That is my brother. I'm really not sure where to film this, but I'm sat in my chair because this is what I know best. This is going to be the video. I'm a poet and I don't know it. Right. My Prismacolor... Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Fucking hell. I've got a sneezy face now. I look so tall in comparison to the chair.